How's it going, everyone? It's John here. We got an investing video today. I'm going to talk about, without question, hands down, my highest conviction stock, which is Roku. Obviously, it's an investing video today. Hey, everybody, if you are new to the channel, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, I came out with a basket of 50 turbo growth stocks. I've been literally scouring, trying to figure this out since early June. Here we are. It is Tuesday, August 3rd, and I've come up with a list of 50 stocks. Again, I call them turbo growth tech stocks. And from that, I've actually developed a list of 10, what I call the top 10 strong buys, which are the turbo growth tech stocks that could 10x in the next 1 to 10 years. And I've got all that. Actually, I put it on tip ranks. I don't really have my portfolios and values or anything like that, but tip ranks is actually how I developed that list. I do see that basket getting up to possibly about somewhere in between 50 and 75 stocks by the end of 2021. And today, Roku is, of course, aside from being my highest conviction name, Roku is certainly in that basket of, or in the list of the top 10 turbo growth tech stocks that could 10x in the next 1 to 10 years. I will say that I think that Roku might actually be the highest market cap in that list, because obviously I'm trying to, when it comes to market capitalization, the higher the market cap, the less the risk typically with the stock. The lower the market cap, the higher the risk, but at the same time, the lower market cap stock is actually what gives you that opportunity to get the highest return on your capital. So, when looking at the top 10 that could 10x in the next 1 to 10 years, I am trying to look at what are the mid caps, right? This $2 billion up to $10 billion figure, and I think Roku might be actually the highest market cap in that list. So I'm just going to talk about Roku today. Here we have, again, it is Tuesday, August 3rd. What's going to happen is Roku is releasing their earnings tomorrow, Wednesday, August 4th. But what I'm going to talk about today is really about, how big and powerful Roku has really become, and I've just got a couple articles I'm gonna really kind of share with you. Let's take a look at what we'll do is we'll also take a look at their numbers, everyone, in terms of kind of where they're at right now. What's really exciting in terms of where we are right now with Roku is they are now tracking a $2 billion plus $2 billion plus trailing 12-month revenue figure as of their most recent earnings release, which is in May of 2021. So basically, everybody, when I'm taking a look and developing this, I mean, I've kind of been doing quite a bit of videos here on investing. I've actually been investing a long time, but there is kind of a figure that I use a lot, and what that figure is 35. And the reason I use 35 is because of really a couple things, right? When it comes to the venture capitalists, the thing I love about investing in these turbo growth tech stocks is, we're really trying to kind of beat the venture capitalists at their own game, right? So if we can actually achieve a 35% or greater growth per year to our portfolio, we're actually beating the venture capitalists, because the venture capitalists seek to return 25 to 30%, to their funds, and it's fine. They're obviously investing, huge amounts of money, but at the same time, the venture capitalists go in, and when they make their bets, they know that going into it, they're going to basically be returning, their money and then an investment on only 10 to 20% of their bets. So for us, when we go in and we do invest in kind of a mid-cap or smaller turbo growth tech stock, if we don't like how it's going, we can just kind of sell out, and the venture capitalists can't do that. And we still have, the opportunity to participate in that upside. And it's a whole new, world of opportunity nowadays, because so many turbo growth tech companies are going public, in some cases rather early. But again, when I say 35, so 35 is a big figure in terms of that 35% figure. If you do achieve 35%, not only are you beating the venture capitalists at their own game, but also you are doubling your capital, your portfolio value, every 3 years. That same concept goes into a company. So if that company can achieve a revenue year-over-year revenue growth rate of 35%, they're effectively doubling their revenue every 3 years. I've developed a 6-point scoring system in terms of analyzing these turbo growth tech stocks, and basically Roku hits all of them, except for the fact that their market cap is a little bit higher now. I've been in Roku for a long time. I wish I really wanted to get in on them in the on the IPO, but I didn't. I did wait a little bit, but I have been in Roku for about 3 years now. Since 2018 is I believe the earliest time that I got in there, and certainly been loving it. Here they are at the time of this recording. They're about a $55 billion market cap. And it seems certainly a lot more likely, a whole lot more likely than not, that it's still a great opportunity to get into Roku before they become a really big tech giant. Because it's again, it's really a situation of thinking and determining if it's more likely than not that they will become a tech giant. And I think it is more likely than not that they will. So let's go ahead and take a look where they're at with their financials real quick. Actually, you know what we'll do is we're going to go into some of these articles that I found you that are pretty compelling information. So we'll go and take a look at these. Okay, everybody, here we go. So this is a great article I found about Roku and really how literally they're possibly the most massive player with the most force in the streaming world, right? And not only is it at least for me, am I excited about Roku because of streaming? I'm excited about Roku because of really such a business that has so many different revenue streams and so many different products. That is what gets me so excited about Roku. Roku's bet on smart TVs paying off. 7 years after the company first began relicensing an operating system to TV manufacturers, it has become a market leader in North America. Roku and its hardware partners sold more TVs in the US in 2020 than competitors like Samsung, LG, and Vizio, according to data from the NPD group released by Roku on Friday. Roku TVs had a 38% market share in the US and a 31% market share in Canada, according to NPD's data. Roku also announced earlier this week that it ended 2020 with 51.2 million active accounts, around 14 million accounts over the past 12 months. Altogether, consumers streamed over 58.7 billion hours of entertainment through their Roku devices in 2020, according to their news release. So as you can see, everybody, they have made some big bets in terms of TVs. I really even didn't know until making this video that they are doing so well with with selling their TVs. Here they're outselling Samsung, LG, and Vizio. That's pretty astonishing. I think one thing that is exciting, about Roku is also what they're doing with audio. So they now have a speaker, and with that speaker, you can actually, basically get you could use Roku. You could hook up Roku to your TV through the sound bar. It's really the Roku sound bar, where it's a Bluetooth sound bar, and then you can access your Roku from that sound bar as you connect it to your TV. And then in general, I just love it. I mean, one of the things I do here, I've got 3 properties where I do furnished vacation rentals or furnished rentals, short, medium term, a lot of medium term as well, whatever you want to call it. And Roku has been just amazing for that. You've got TVs in the living room, TVs in the bedrooms, and you just slap a Roku. And what's so interesting is when I first started to like Roku a lot was when I learned, I'm like, wait a minute, why on earth am I spending all this money? Well, not all this money, whatever, 20, something like $30 to $50 a month, for the router with Spectrum or whatever cable company you're using for your internet, when you could just go buy a Roku for like $20 to $25 at Walmart. You own it forever, and it's actually a way better device than this router that you're actually renting, from the cable company. So obviously that's a financial no-brainer right there. They've got their TVs, they've got their audio equipment, they're coming out with new equipment, and then also they're now becoming a pretty big player in streaming. And then also they released, when they did the acquisition of Quibi, they released in April information. They also made this information available in April, and then also during their earnings release in May, that they're starting to do original programming. So they're rebranding their Quibi products, within their lineup as Roku Originals. So Roku is now getting into original programming. Okay, so let's take a look at another. I want to talk to you about the Roku channel itself and how many people are actively using it. So let's take a look at that as well. Okay, everybody, so here we go. In Q1, over 18 billion hours of content were streamed via Roku, including more than doubling of hours streamed on the Roku channel itself. So meaning the actual people not only using the Roku device, their hardware, to stream, but going onto the Roku channel, right? So a more than doubling of hours streamed on the Roku channel itself, which reached over 70 million people. Given that Roku is a small player, that content that controls very little content in the media landscape, when HBO's streaming service launched, they were not on Roku either because they did not want to share revenue. Eventually, both concluded that the distribution and ease of use provided by Roku made it such that a partnership ultimately made sense. It was recently announced that Apple would begin paying for an Apple TV button on the Roku remote, another indication of the powerful place Roku occupies in the streaming ecosystem. So there you go, everybody. That is a compelling figure. That's pretty big deal. You look at my Roku remote is a very important part of my my love for Roku, because actually my son just loved Roku when I first got it back in 2014. He loved that Roku remote, and I did notice that Roku remote was way better than any other remote that I had used, before that. And having that button on there, the Netflix button, and then the Amazon Prime button, it really makes it a lot easier. Actually, just go ahead and press that. And on top of that, I mean, if you think about it, Roku is an operating system for a TV, just like the iPhone. It's basically like, an iPhone is the way, at least the way I see it, it's like an iPhone for the TV, right? So if you want to go ahead and take a look, let's go ahead and hop into the handy dandy spreadsheet. So I want to show you kind of how they're doing with their numbers real quick. So Roku, we're about 54.78 billion. We're looking at, their most recent trailing 12 months. Again, I don't really break things down too much in trailing 12 months. I really like to look at fiscal year end to fiscal year end. But I will say that their trailing 12 months, where they're showing $2 billion in revenue on a trailing 12-month basis, as of May, they have about a 50% gross profit. Obviously, that's over 35%, so that's great. That gets a big point there. And then that's their gross profits at about 50%. And then the year-over-year revenue growth rate at about 57.62, and that's pretty darn good as well. Obviously, the best in the group is about 100%, but not many companies have that sort of growth rate. But again, both well over 35%. And then, it was basically, so I think if you take a look at 12 months prior, they were just at about $1.1 billion in fiscal year end 2021. 2019, sorry, and then fiscal year end 2020 at about 1.7 billion, and they're now tracking over 2. So they are growing like crazy. So really the only the only concern is with respect to Roku right now is their market cap being at over 50 billion. But if you take a look at it, Netflix here, they're just a tad over. Let's take a look. Netflix is a tad over. 200 billion. I think they're about maybe 225 now. Yeah, they're about 225. So the reality is Netflix going to get? Is Roku going to get as big as Netflix? I don't see why they couldn't, but they certainly seem like they're both going to be growing, together, and it seems a whole lot more likely than not that Netflix will. One reason I like Roku so much is because it does remind me a lot of Netflix, right? And in case you haven't watched my channel or watched anything, I did actually take positions in Netflix back in 2012. I've got an 80x return on my earliest Netflix purchases, which when you just look at their 52-week high, right? But basically, what Netflix did is Netflix went after the distribution, and then they went after the content. They did actually try to do their own studio, like way back when they started, I guess in the late 90s or early 2000s, and it did not work out. And the same thing goes with Roku. They're really focusing on getting that distribution, and then they're going to get into the programming and the content, is the way that I see them going. The difference with Roku is, of course, they have this big part of their business, which is hardware, which Netflix doesn't have. So I do really enjoy watching this Roku ride. And again, they're coming out with their original programming and their original content, and they're just going gangbusters with their hardware sales. So here you go, one of the highest conviction stock owners of Roku right here. And we'll take a watch, and we'll watch Roku on their way to maybe 100 billion in market cap and maybe more. We'll have to see. Earnings release is tomorrow, Wednesday, August 4th, 2021 for Roku. Everybody, hopefully you like that. I'm going to put some links below. I came out with a blueprint on investing in credit. You can go check those out. I got a lot of guides in there. It's only $7. Other than that, hopefully you like the material. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not your financial advisor. I do have a big background in investing. I actually, my first job out of college was Merrill Lynch. Then I did investment banking after that. And then I worked for Sun America here in Los Angeles for 3 years. And then as an individual investor, I got a great track record of 5 10x investments. Netflix at 80x, and then I bought Apple back before the first iPhone came out in 2007, and I got 33x on that and 3 other 10x's. Hopefully you guys like that, and have a great week.